Okay, we're in. Can you hear me great?
Yes, it's cutting in and out a little bit, so I'll just let you know.
Okay, yes, please let me know. And thank you everyone who has tuned in 6 minutes ago. It's 10:06 on my end right now, and I had a hard time logging on, so Courtney was lovely and patient with me as I worked through tech issues, which is always I'm learning a lot in the area. But I just want to say thank you, Courtney, so much for being a part of Choose Life Week. Learned so much. Guests, I wanted to highlight who you are. You are just a lovely woman of God. You have been married for 6 years, but married your high school sweetheart. So you guys have been together for over 10, and you have a darling daughter, Willow, who's 2 years old. But I would love to just hand that to you for you to share. Of course, also, how I first met you was because of your business. Your growing, expanding, clean eating, sage desserts and treats business. And so that's actually how I first met you and got to know you, just in that space. But I would love for you to share what else about you for the audience.
Yeah, it was cutting in and out a little bit, so I'm not sure fully what you said, but I am a wife and mom. I'm a registered dietitian, and I own Sage Whole Foods here local to Redding, California. I'm originally from the East Coast, and then I grew up in the Midwest, and now I currently live on the West Coast. So I've kind of lived all over, but we are loving Redding, California, and we love just the community that we've established out here, and a lot of really fun other business owners that we've connected with. We found just such a great community to be able to dream and to move forward with the business, and just enjoy life here out on the West Coast.
Yes. And tell me, what is all the fruitfulness that has happened for you professionally being on the West Coast? Like, how strategic has that been, or would you not just say that played into your business?
Oh, definitely. I think that there's something about the West that is always kind of on the forefront of what's coming out. You see that in kind of all industries, but I feel like specifically in the health industry, in the wellness industry in which I'm in, I feel like there is just an increased value for it here. There are people that are hungry, literally, for quality foods and things that have quality ingredients. And so it's been really fun to establish Sage up here in Northern California. Redding's a bit different because it's Northern California. It's a bit smaller, so it's not like Southern California where we see a lot of these things come out of, but it's been a really unique environment to be able to start something like this. This Sage has been on my heart for years.
And tell me, expand, and where, when you first began dreaming of a type of business and how the name Sage came about, and just your journey, because I would say absolutely there's so many women that have dreams and visions in their hearts that are for outside of the home, for others. And so I would love for you to share with us how fast of a season that was for you to go from idea to market, and how with the kind of the steps that you were able to take.
Yeah, I love that. It kind of was birthed out of this place of, honestly, it's kind of funny now that I say it, but I wanted to be the mom that, this is before I had Willow, I wanted to be the mom that was known for her cookies and her brownies, where all of my kids' friends would remember me as the lady or the mom with the most delicious treats, but were actually healthy. Because I wanted my kids, and I wanted myself and my husband and my family to be able to enjoy those sweet treats for celebrations or evening desserts with the family or what have you. And so Sage was kind of birthed from that place of really just wanting to serve my family with quality ingredients. I went to college and I studied dietetics. So I became a registered dietitian. So I'd studied the nutrition field for, oh man, probably 6 years. And it's just this ongoing thing. I feel like my definition of healthy has even evolved the past 10 years. But it's been really cool just to see what that's looked like. And it really kind of goes back to the basics and the same things. And those I have found to be kind of the value points for Sage, which is honestly just simplicity and quality. I think across the board in the health world, those two things I have found to be some of the most important qualities in a business or in products or what have you. But yeah, Sage kind of was birthed from that place of wanting to really serve my family. And now I get to share it with the world, share it with Reading, and then eventually I'll be expanding to share with the world as well.
And of course, your husband and daughter, they are able to benefit from your Choose Life choices and your ingredients in the foods. But I'm curious, like, were you able to benefit from your family? Did you come from a healthy family that were making Choose Life choices with foods, or did you become that generational changer? Did you begin the new thing in your story, in your family story?
Yeah, good question. It's funny, I grew up eating for enjoyment and kind of just whatever was available to us. My mom did a really good job of making meals at home. I also was an athlete, so we did travel a lot and we were out a lot. And so we ate out at different restaurants a lot. But I would say the big change for me was actually when I met Nate. He had a higher value for quality and eating a lot of vegetables and quality meats and lots of fruits, probably more so than I did. And it was I remember probably my senior year of high school, where I really started to make that change, where I started to value it more. I started to recognize what I was putting into my body, how it was affecting me, kind of becoming more aware of the foods that were going in, the foods that I was choosing to eat. And then, like I said, it's kind of just evolved the past 10 years. And I ended up going on to study nutrition in school, which it's just amazing, even being outside of school, how much you learn constantly.
Yeah.
But yes, very much so. It was kind of this, when I met Nate back in high school, it was kind of that transition where he had a higher value, and it really kind of woke me up to what was possible. Or even he exposed me to seafood or salmon or other vegetables that I never really grew up eating. So it was fun. It's been a fun journey.
That is neat to hear how much of him was influential for your story, for your livelihood, for your profession, and it's beautiful. So much about Choose Life Weekly is hearing from our guests and how because we just really believe, or I believe, and I have seen that as each person experiences breakthrough and they share breakthrough, just hearing a person's story empowers others to choose life and experience breakthrough. And I really feel like that's in everybody's hearts, is how do we overcome? And so whether it's about sugar or food or anything outside of your profession, do you mind sharing Choose Life choices you made that would help you experience a breakthrough, just knowing that your story will benefit those that listen?
Yeah, there's so many different areas I could talk about, but I think honestly one of the biggest ones is within the realm of food, because it's always on the forefront of my mind, whether that be business, whether that be all of us consuming food. But kind of my journey with choosing life choices within food specifically, one of the biggest changes I've made within my approach to eating has been reducing sugar
Yeah.
and becoming more aware of my body, like I was saying, and what foods didn't really settle well with how I was experiencing life or with what I was digesting. And so I've kind of been on this long journey of figuring that out. And more recently, I've really just kind of honed in on choosing quality fats, quality meats, all organic, vegetables and fruits. And I've seen a huge difference in reducing the amount for me of simple carbohydrates and the simple sugars and eating more of the natural sugars in smaller quantity. One recent story or testimony I can share, I was having some trouble with just fatigue, fatigue and just being tired and lethargic. And it was almost like I would get this crash about midday, and then I would drink a cup of coffee, and then I would kind of have a crash again at the end of the day. And we have a good friend, Katie Hamilton, Gold Health Collective. She encouraged me to kind of just get off of coffee. And I love coffee, the social aspect as well as the taste. So about 2 months ago, I eliminated coffee from my diet, and I have so much more sustained energy throughout the day. I don't have those highs, which I really enjoyed, but I also don't have the very lows a couple times a day. So that's been a huge breakthrough for me. And honestly, it's just been recognizing how my body feels, really just being aware of the things that I'm putting into my body and making the decision to choose a better choice. Because ultimately, when I'm not having those crashes, I'm having more sustained energy so I can be more productive throughout the day, enjoy the day more, and not rely on caffeine as a fix.
That's awesome. So just curious, did you drink your coffee cold or hot?
Hot. I like both, but
okay.
I
do
always
you miss having a hot drink? Do you miss having a hot drink, or do you?
I do. And my husband loves coffee. We love craft coffee, so we've got the Chemex, we've got I think it's called the V60, the whole 9 yards. So I do miss that aspect of him. But I found a great replacement, which is matcha. Have you ever had matcha?
No, I haven't.
Oh, at first I wasn't a huge fan. It's a bit earthy, but I just continue to have it little by little, and I've been enjoying it because I was missing that warm drink, especially in the mornings.
Yes, it's that morning warm drink that I love. But you're right. And Katie, I credit her too. She completely helped me unplug that coffee addiction. And so if I do have it, it is so just that social aspect of Jesus. It is that secret place, warm drink. And I don't know why I prefer it over tea. I love tea, but I don't know. There's sometimes I'll just have it. I'm not out of addiction, but just out of enjoyment. But I do feel it. I feel how shaky it makes me feel. And so my body says, oh, it's not as healthy. It's not such a choose life choice for you. So that's beautiful.
Our bodies will tell us. It will tell us exactly what it needs and what it doesn't need, and just having the ears to hear and listen to what it's saying.
And that, in Choose Life Eating, about the program a bit, and a big part of the program is kind of breaking free from the hold food has on you. And I love the space that you're in, that you touch food and you offer Choose Life foods for others. You kind of accelerate people to make a Choose Life choice in their story with foods, because you've already chosen this ingredient and chosen this best ingredient and this one and this one and this one, and packaged that in such a flavorful way. So it's an easy Choose Life choice for other people. I love what you offer. But tell me, being in this space with food or even sugar, because you're making sweets and desserts, how have you been able to stay free? Because it can be addictive or consuming, or if you're that focused. I would love for you to empower our audience with your story.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I was just thinking when you were talking back to the time where I really developed this inspiration or desire to be in the kitchen. I was 18 years old, senior in high school. I became a baker of a local bread and sweets business. And I would wake up at 3 a.m. and I'd go in there all by myself and make these cookies and sweetbreads and all kinds of things. I just remember seeing all of the ingredients go into these products as I was making them.
Right.
All these very processed, chemically based, additive, preservative filled ingredients going into these desserts. And I just remember thinking, I kind of had this aha moment where I realized, oh my goodness, I don't want anything to do with that. I don't want to put that into my body. And so from there, it's kind of expanded, and it's amazing how the more you become educated in the food that you're eating and the more you read labels, the less of a desire it is that you even want it. So I would say that I've kind of come out of the place of even desiring those foods because I know how it makes my body feel, and the way that it makes my body feel isn't worth it. And the way that it physically affects me just isn't worth it to me anymore. And so that desire is very small. And I say that that's something that has really developed through the years. But I think one thing that really motivates me to just eat clean and healthy and to be able to produce products that others are able to eat that are accessible and just simple. Like I said,
with a clear conscience. I know when I eat I love the taste, but it really feels like a choose life choice.
Yeah.
I really appreciate, I don't enjoy putting things together in the kitchen as much. And when it is done, I'm like, oh, I think someone else could have done this better. I don't even have think I rank high with certain foods, but I would say your treats are so delicious. And I feel like it's just a choose life choice. I appreciate it. I appreciate the work you put in.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I think there's one thing that really motivates me with that is even just this lie out there that healthy, organic, clean food tastes bad, especially desserts. And so that really motivates me to create figuring out what ingredient goes with what ingredient to really pull out that flavor or to pull out that specific taste, and to be able to just take time in the kitchen and experiment and get that figured out. I think that that's a huge motivator for me, as well as what I said, just my family and myself being able to enjoy celebrations, birthday parties. I mean, what do most parties have? They've got all kinds of desserts. And so having options for people that won't compromise their health, I think that's become such a huge value for me. And so that's a big motivator, as well as just in the past kind of seeing what these ingredients have done to my body and what it's done to other people's bodies. So
I love hearing just the domino effect of as you were dating, just, the choose life choices. That's so my lens. That's such my verbiage. But just in the value that Nate was putting in foods and his selection of foods and how that affected you, how you found that now this your choose life choices is affecting the world around you.
Yeah.
Your daughter, your home, your family, your friends, and so I definitely can see, I guess, how your choose life choices. I can see it from my angle, but I'd love to hear you put it in words.
Yeah,
with that.
For sure. Yeah, I'm a huge believer that the impact that we have comes from the inner world that we steward and the things that we daily say yes to. And so I know on a personal note, I think back to even when Nate and I were first dating 10 years ago. And I remember I would make poor choices in simply the food that I was eating, and I would physically feel terrible. And then it would go to my mental state where I would feel shame, and I would experience, well, why in the world did you do that? You knew better. Then I would start feeling bad about myself. And then it was just kind of this negative spiral that would put me in this place of nobody wanted to be around me. I wasn't really fun because I was so focused on myself then. And so, yeah, going back to your question, I just feel like in order to impact the world, we all want to influence the world in some capacity, and we're created to do that. We have to learn how to steward that within our inner world ourselves. And so that's been huge for me, learning just this, what is it that my body needs? What is it that I need? What is it that I'm created to receive? Whether that be, we talk about choose life choices within our body, within our soul, within our spirit. I know in order for me to show up fully each day, I have to be in scripture in the morning. Whether that be super minimal and I just read a proverb a day, or I expand upon that, it doesn't really matter, as long as I'm being fed in that way. We were talking earlier, just simply the choices at the beginning of the day or the beginning of the week, making those health conscious choices to eat low sugar on a Monday, because then it kind of sets you up for the rest of the week, or to really go hard and exercise, or even just get out for a walk on a Monday morning or early in the morning, kind of sets the tone for that. So I feel like, yeah, to answer that question, I would just go back to really knowing what it is that we're created to be, and that comes from the Word, and what that looks like as sons and daughters of the Lord, and stewarding that within your inner world. And then what kind of flows out to your external world is the health of your internal world. And
Beautiful.
So I feel like that's been kind of the process for me, is really working on my inner world and figuring out what that's looked like.
100%. And I think that you said it so beautifully. Thank you. And that is, I completely agree. I do feel like that integration of spirit, soul, body, when it has that unity, just what you're saying, when you make a poor choice for your body, how that affects your soul, your thoughts, your emotions, it's a bit of a spiral taking you out. But then making those choose life choices and from your best self, your true self, who you, as sons and daughters of God, from that spirit component of who you are, the core, your core of how, and having that spirit, soul, body alignment, have not negative thoughts and feelings, which then empowering you to make choose life choices in your body, how you're feeding, how you're moving your body. And then you're right, that integration causing that transformation, and then obviously that reformation of your outer world. And I think that you said it so fabulously, of just stewarding this part creates this domino effect. And it has done it in a mass way for you, because you don't even know all the names and faces of all the people as you're stewarding this space, bringing choose life choices for like I said, when I'm one of those dominoes, when I'm having some of what you provide for others, I know I'm making a choose life choice for myself because of your deliberate intentionality of healthy, honoring, valuing your body as you create. So I just
Thank you.
yeah, and which leads to what choose life is about, that choosing life, finding freedom, where you're experiencing that peace and freedom, and taking territory where all of those dominoes, all the people you may not ever meet, how you're affecting them just by doing this, just by choosing life.
Yeah. It's amazing the pieces that come together when you show up and do what it is that you're created to do, or simply even just stripping it back a little more, doing what you love to do. I think there's such an aspect of the Creator made us to be creative. And so what does it look like to express yourself creatively? I found that to be in the kitchen for me as one aspect of where creativity just kind of flows. and becomes more natural, and it makes me come alive. And so I think that there's, just recognizing those little areas of our lives that we really enjoy. It's really fun to see the pieces come together. And even the connections, the relationships. One of the biggest revelations I've had since starting Sage back in December of 2019 was just the connections that come. When I showed up at the first bazaar that I did, I had no idea what I was doing. I wanted to just make it super simple. I made 3 products. I worked really hard for several weeks. I had a couple of people help me. And I remember at the bazaar, there were several people that came up, had made really fun connections. And I just had this revelation that when we show up and we just say yes to the things that we know, and this had been on my heart for a while, but it was just a moment where I was like, why not? Like, what do I have to lose? It's so low stakes. Why don't I just go for it and sign up for this bazaar? It's so cool to see the pieces come together. I felt myself come alive when I was talking about the ingredients, connecting with other people who have a high value for these things. I recognized, oh my gosh, there's such a need here in Redding, California, and probably across the world for these products that are made with such quality ingredients that have transparency within the way that it's created. But it's just so fun as we continue to evolve at Sage to see those pieces come together. And it's just simply showing up and being faithful in the little things.
That's awesome. That you're right. It's each day. What's the yes? What's the yes? That's the best next step. And that is beautiful for those that are listening, that they have an idea in their heart and they have a desire and they have a vision. And I just want to highlight, Cortney, so that you began this journey. I mean, you have a toddler and you are still not just carrying your business, but you're expanding it as far as more products and still being able to stay in a place of flow and creativity and innovating. And so I just know in those years of my life, in those toddler years, I couldn't stay in that place. And so that's so encouraging for those that are in that season that feels like they need to be out of that season. And instead, I just want to second what you're saying, is saying, no, just say yes.
Yeah.
If that's the ask before you, just lean into it. Just say yes. And like you said, just say, why not?
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. It's been a fun journey of even figuring out what that's looked like with a toddler. We have another business back in Chicago area that my husband kind of runs and oversees. And yeah, it's been a fun balance of figuring out what it looks like to be even greater teammates as far as my husband and I, figuring out schedules and planning. I think practically speaking, that's a huge component to being able to walk this out, as well as community. Having Kristen, we've got a couple other friends here in town that we connect with regularly, and we're chatting about our businesses and we're running ideas off of each other. I think that's been huge. But honestly, one of the biggest things that I kind of hold on to day to day, and I learned it from my pastor here in Redding, Joel Power. He has got such a low stakes mentality where when we look through the lens of decisions that feel like big decisions or whether they feel like small decisions, it's just kind of stepping back and being like, okay, it's going to be okay either way. If it works out, it works out. And if it doesn't, that's okay. We learn. And so just this idea of learning how to fail well and being okay with failing, I think has given me a lot of grace to do this in this season with a 2-year-old. And some days I don't do anything, where I'm not moving forward at all, if you will, with Sage. But there's so much grace to just sit and play with Willow and do what I need to do at home, make dinner,
it's just because your hands aren't in motion and touching it on those days, it doesn't mean it's not moving forward, because there's the people coming into the stores and the shops for your products. And so it is moving forward, right? You know what I mean? And it's so freeing where you're advancing it, even though you're just focused on your daughter, which is actually, I think, the beauty and the goal.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, like passively taking territory.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. And the nature of the way that it's been set up, and the place that I produce at, very flexible, really easy. And I think that that's really helped, specifically in this season.
So I know that you have a gifting too, but definitely a desire and a compassion for people that are needing to say yes and wanting to say yes professionally, and especially when there is just this, the Lord is kind of a beckoning, somebody into that space and for them to take risks or create. And so what would you say for them to get started? How would you motivate them?
Yeah. That's a good question. I think that for me, before really starting Sage, I became very in tune with my inner world, and I became very healthy within my inner world. And so I would just start declaring that things would happen. I never thought that I would be a business owner. I never had that belief system that that was possible until somebody spoke that over me. And so even things that you desire, dreams that you have related to business or whatever that looks like, I think just beginning by believing in it, sitting down and actually saying, yes, I am a business owner. I am going to be successful in this. I am whatever it is. I think one of the biggest things is to just believe in yourself, and then also get community around you to support, to talk things through. There's so many people out there that are hungry for, especially with where we're at in our businesses, more at the beginning stages. There are people out there in the same stages, so finding those people. But also, there's so many things, but another thing I just thought of is being okay to fail, and being okay to put yourself out there and to stretch yourself. There's John Wimber, pastor of the Vineyard Church years ago. He would say, faith is spelled R-I-S-K, risk. And so taking those risks, stepping out in faith, whatever that looks like, I think it doesn't have to be this massive thing. I know for me, there's so many things I want to do with Sage, but I knew in order to start, I had to do one simple thing. And for me, what was easiest in front of me was to produce products, right now I only have 2 simple products, 3 technically, but 2 consistent products that are always available. And that was the best and easiest way for me to show up in that way. So, and it's just going to continue to evolve, but to just make that decision and be okay with failing and to just say yes.
That's beautiful. Okay, one other thing, and I know that absolutely you do a fabulous job in stewarding God's voice to you whenever you're sleeping. Like you really honor His voice to your heart, to your subconscious. And so, how much of a role did the dreams that God was giving you, did that play in your risk, in your faith, in you next stepping?
Huge.
And it doesn't have to be necessarily professionally, just in your story, in your personal story.
Yeah. The dream life is something that my husband and I have been going after for a long time. And what that looks like for me is to steward my dreams is simply to wake up in the night and write them down. And so there are so many moments, especially since December with starting Sage, where I've had revelation in my dreams where the Lord has spoken. And it's actually, when the Lord speaks, there's always a grace that comes with it. And so there's been this grace that I've encountered even in the night, which is crazy, where I wake up and I'll experience more motivation. Or a really easy example would be when I was, I signed up for the bazaar, to do the bazaar to sell Sage products. to kind of do like a soft launch, if you will. And the several weeks leading up to this bazaar, I had dreams where I was behind, that I showed up at the bazaar and I wasn't fully prepared. And people were asking me about the business, they were asking me about the products, and I didn't have cards, I didn't have the right information. And so when I would wake up, I had probably several of those dreams leading up to it. And so I would wake up and I remember feeling, oh my goodness, like I really have to figure this out. And so I'm not, administrative work does not come naturally to me. I'm more of a visionary dreamer. And so the practical side of it, I would pull on my husband a lot, or my sister, or my friend Katie, and just ask them, like, what is it? How do I even do this? What does this practically look like? So it was pulling on the resources around me. But it was those dreams that really pushed me, where I would wake up and I'm like, oh man, like I value excellence and I value quality. Mm-hmm. And I want to present that. Whatever I do, I want to present that. And so I knew I really had to, it kind of motivated me in a whole nother way to really get on top of those things. And it was a successful bazaar, and I was able to, specifically the things that I had dreams about, like business cards or whatever. It's funny, we'd created some, but then we ran out because there were so many people that wanted them. So we had to go and make some during the bazaar, and I don't know, it's just so fun. But yeah, dream life is huge. There are so many other dreams or even ideas that I've had in the night that we will probably be seeing here in the future with Sage, but I have not felt the grace to really step into them yet. So it's really fun to just kind of do that co-working partnership with the Lord. I feel like it's just the only way that we can operate.
Yeah.
It's the best way to operate. And it's fun too.
It is. That's beautiful. Okay. Is there anything else that I haven't asked that you'd love to share in any ring of your life, in any part of your story?
I'm trying to think. Nothing in particular. Yeah, I would just leave everybody with just some excitement and inspiration, saying that you can do whatever it is that you have on your heart to do. Even when I remember just certain moments in my life where I was about to step into something that I knew I was created for, and it felt like there was chaos or turmoil around me. But I recognized, oh, okay, I'm about to step over that threshold of what it is, of my flow, of my groove, of whatever it is. So learning how to push through that. So just to encourage anybody that's out there that may be experiencing, they may have this dream on their heart and they're like, oh, I really want to do this, but I've just been feeling all this pushback, to really press in because you're right on the brink of some breakthrough. And I've seen that so many times in my life, whether that be in business, personal, family, whatever it looks like. So yeah, I'm just excited. This was so fun to chat with you, Kristen.
Oh, I love you. I appreciate you doing this and saying yes to this, and yeah, offering your Choose Life choices and the impact that your Choose Life choices have made to other people. I mean, and that is, we believe when you choose life, you find freedom and you take territory, but you've helped other people do the same. And I guess you've created an acceleration is what you've done. Mm-hmm. You've created an acceleration for people to take territory and take a space they would not have if you hadn't taken the guesswork out of it for them. So
thank you.
All right. Love you. Thank you.
Love you too. We'll see ya.
Bye-bye.